はい。皆さん、こんにちは。ジョーです。今日はですね、皆さんももうすでにご存知かと思いますが、Grvt というですね、セックスとDEX の非常にいいとこ取りをしたプロダクトをですね、今開発していらっしゃる方々がですね、いるということで、皆さんに今日ご紹介をしていきたいと思います。はい。で、今日はですね、ホンさんという CEO の方をお招きしているので、いろいろと聞いていきたいと思います。Okay, thank you so much for your time, Hon. I'm really, really honored to have you, and I want to ask about the questions about Gravity and its development plan and so on. But before going to the too much detail, can you introduce yourself and how you got into crypto?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me on this channel. Really appreciate your support. Yeah, I'll kick off by giving you a quick introduction of myself. So my name is Hong. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Gravity. A little bit of my background. Before entering into crypto, I used to be a trader at Goldman Sachs and Credit Suisse out of Hong Kong doing equity swap trading. So I did that for about 9.5 years. And then in 2022, decided to jump into crypto full time. Actually, for me, the reason why I actually jumped into this industry is because I got to learn about, I guess, blockchain as a technology first, before crypto in around 2021. And I think the technology itself was very interesting, fascinating for me. And the reason is because it really struck me as a more of a, I guess, advanced version of the internet, which a lot of people say, being able to store immutable logic. I think that was the most important factor. That I could see that coming from TradFi, there's a lot of inefficiencies in the industry of finance because of these trust issues that are quite prominent across the industry itself. And you could see that this technology is applicable and could actually transform this industry quite a lot by making it more scalable through this trustless tech. So I think that's when I decided, hey, look, I think it's time for me to maybe try something within this industry with my background of trading and then try to build a trading platform that's built on top of blockchain that could improve the whole sector within itself. So that's how I jumped into crypto.
Okay, thank you. And today, like I said, we dig into your product, Gravity, which is sex like Dex products that you're now building. And what are the motivations to build this product and also what this product is? Can you explain?
Sure, sure. Maybe I can just explain a little bit about Gravity first. As you rightly put, we are a hybrid exchange. So we call it ourselves as the first self-custodial central exchange. So what that means is we take the technology of both the CeFi and DeFi to create the most ideal trading experience for users. And what that means is we have an off-chain order book, meaning the order book matching engine and all that is going to be centralized. So therefore, we achieve 600,000 transactions per second, and we offer a very, I guess, a central exchange-like experience on trading. But we take away the settlement and only settlement and segregate that and build it on blockchain. So we've deployed our own application chain, which is built on ZK Sync technology, and we offer on-chain privacy. So that's why we call it a hybrid model. And on top of that, what I can also emphasize is that we're taking a very, I guess, unique route, given that we want to be a bit more central exchange than decentralized exchange. We are going to be the first regulated decentralized exchange, seeking licenses out of Bermuda. And that's going to be hopefully be granted in the next 3 weeks. And therefore, we offer KYC and AML screening for all our clients to be fully compliant and regulated. Now, that's a little bit about the architecture of the platform, but just diving on in a little bit more around like the background of the company and some of the stats that we have. So we are unique in itself that we are invested primarily by trading firms. So we have about 17 trading firms that have invested into Gravity, including guys like Amber, sorry, not Ember, apologies. More like pulsar trading, flow traders. We have QCP, and many more that are investors onto platform, and they're also our clients. So we're 1 month away from mainnet, but we already have about 55 institutional clients already committed to trade on Gravity, and we have about $3.3 billion of monthly volume already contractually committed by some of these trading firms. And we have 16 market makers. And on top of that, we also have about 20,000 KYC users already completed before we're going live in mainnet. And now, just to give you some context on what that actually means, if you look at some of our competitors like Vertex, they have about 40,000 wallets in total after years of business. And also DYDX is about 70,000 wallets in total. And Hyperliquid, it took them 6 months to build up a total of 20,000 wallets from their mainnet onward. So Gravity, we're still 1 month away from mainnet, and we still have about 20,000 KYC users. I think is quite significant. And a lot of those users actually come from some of the markets like Korea, Turkey, Vietnam, and quite a few from Japan. So I think it will be a very interesting product for hopefully the Japanese community too.
Sounds great. And I believe this is one-of-a-kind product in the market. But from the, I think, user perspective, what is going to be really special?
Sure. So I think I think there's two things. So one is when we started this company in 2022, actually in November, we were actually building this right amidst when the FTX incident was happening. So our key focus was to build a trading platform that can be the most secure, eliminating counterparty risk with blockchain technology, but also adding on traditional financial security measures to make sure that it's hacking proof or a counterparty risk proof, right? So that was the key thesis, and that's why we went and tried to build it in a hybrid model to make it significantly better. But at the same time, the second part, which is might be quite more applicable for our users, is the fact that we focused a lot on user experience. So what that meant is when we were looking into this industry, we still saw, and today still is, that 85% or more of trading volume within whole of crypto is still centralized, and less than 15% decentralized exchange. And we took a step back and did a survey to all our users. So we did a survey to about 3,000 people within the community and asked them what makes DeFi difficult to use or DeFi adoption slow. And there were 3 answers that popped out, and 60% answered that it's primarily because it's so difficult to deposit funds into DeFi. And then the second was because, and second and third were because, one, it's also difficult to use wallets in general because, you have to find a wallet, create a wallet, and also have secure keys. And then the third one was around gas, because every time you deposit fund into a smart contract, you need to have gas. So what we've done is, just for the context of our users, we've solved all 3 problems, and we've spent a lot of time to make sure that user adoption is going to be very easy through better UX. And how we did that is by creating our first native bridge partnership with XY Finance, which is a bridge provider, to create a bridge that allows users to deposit funds from any central exchange directly into Gravity smart contract or your sub account with no gas and just with 1 click. And the user experience is identical to a central exchange. So whether you know anything about crypto, whether you know anything about DeFi, as long as you know how to transfer money from one central exchange to the other central exchange, then you can do the same for depositing funds from another central exchange, Gravity's sub account. But then even if you do that, your funds are safe within the full self-custody. So that was one of the first things that we deployed, and actually is something that users can come into our testnet and actually try it out. And we do have videos around it that you can see. So that was the first one. The second one also that makes us quite unique is that related to wallets is that we wanted to make this wallet experience fully invisible, but at the same time, make it self-custodial. And how do you do that? We have a way for, if you want to come in and trade on Gravity, you need to have a key that signs transactions on chain. So you could have two options. One is if you want to bring your MetaMask or Fireblocks or any other, you could do that. But if you don't have that and you don't want this friction, then we offer you an option called Gravity Secure Key. So what Gravity Secure Key does is that it allows users to come in without the whole context of wallets, and with one click, you'll be able to generate a private key into your mobile phone and be able to use that to interact with the platform, and that is fully self-custodial. So what that does is that it eliminates the need of understanding wallets or understanding what a signature or recovery keys are. You just have something that you'll use to be self-custodial. So that was the second one. And then the last one is around gasless transactions. So very simply put, whatever you do, whether you're depositing funds, withdrawing funds, or making trades on the platform, everything is gasless. So your experience within the whole exchange is identical to as if you're trading on Binance. But one thing that is different is that everything is trustless and on the blockchain. And at the same time, we can also offer our users Gravity tokens as incentive programs to ensure that you'll be able to benefit out of transactions that you do on the platform, which is quite unique because many central exchange actually fall back from trading on DeFi or farming these tokens because they can't be bothered to move funds in such a difficult manner, right? So I think that's something that would be very interesting for some of our user base coming into Gravity.
I see. The next question you might have answered partially, but you already have over 20,000 KYC users. How did you get those guys? And also another question is, how do you keep them engaged? Now, Dex space is very, very competitive. It's hard to get the users, but also at the same time, how to keep them. So what's your take?
Sure. I think one thing is that we wanted to make sure, okay, so to be able to acquire new users and retain them, I think there's two most important things as a crypto company, right? That deals with the tokens. Is one, create a product that is better than others, right? And to do this as an exchange, we needed to have three things. One, need to make it significantly easier to use, as I mentioned earlier, in the user adoption. And two is ensure from day one, we will be able to have better liquidity than many of our exchanges. And that's where we worked very hard to make sure that we have sufficient institutional clients on board. And we've committed $3.3 billion in monthly volume and plus more and more that we have to bring liquidity day one. And then on top of that, as an exchange, we wanted to make sure that we are the most secure exchange out there. So we've recently hired a head of security that used to be with NTC, one of the best security firms, to come in as a head of security, and also at the same time implemented a lot of traditional financial security measures such as 2FAs or wallet registration, whitelisting, and other firewall protections on top of the private key. So we're pretty proud that it's going to be significantly safer than many other exchanges. And then I guess going to the second point, which is now you have a very good product at the initial stage, then how do you make sure that you keep these user base engaged I think is around one, obviously expanding the product features to be better, but that was something that we can discuss later. But also important component is going to be how do you reward your users more fairly and universally? So a lot of airdrops that you see out there right now, a lot of complications or more like conflicts that you have with community is that it's designed in a way to really just service many whales or specific, stakeholders. So what we've designed is that we have a three type of reward programs. So one is an ecosystem reward that users can come in and actually without being a whale, as long as you can actually promote Gravity and contribute to the community, you'll still be able to acquire a significant amount of Gravity tokens for that pool. And then the second is the more you trade on Gravity, the more you get. And then the third is the more you market make, and you'll be able to get more Gravity tokens. So I think these are some of the ways that we believe that we want to be able to acquire and retain user base throughout a longer period of time.
I see. Thank you. And then another thing I want to ask is the KYC is quite important, I think, for the institutions, but I'm not sure about individuals. Why this is a great point for them?
I see. There's a reason why we took a unique path to be fully regulated. So KYC is really just a byproduct of being fully regulated. And there's three reasons. And the first reason is because, in fact, we wanted to address as many users as possible, i.e., as wide variety of user base as possible. And that includes, yes, institutions and retail. Now, and what does that mean for our end clients? The more institutions you have, for example, guys like Galaxy or high-frequency traders who typically, for some who are licensed, may not want to typically interact with decentralized exchanges that are not compliant, will be able to come on to Gravity and trade. And that will generate significantly more liquidity for ordinary retail to be able to execute better. And this is interesting because if you still look at some of these central exchanges, like more than 60% of volume comes from very little number of institutional clients. And the rest 80% of retail users would generate maybe less than 40% of the total volume. So institutional liquidity is extremely important for exchanges like us. So I think that's why, one, we wanted to make sure that we will be able to address more clients for liquidity purposes. And then two is we wanted to deal with as many different type of assets as possible in the future, which means we start with crypto. We are launching Perps order book day one. We will be offering options for crypto day two and spot and thereafter. But the primary goal for us is to really build beyond crypto, right? Because if you think about it, the reason why we started this business is because we wanted to make sure that blockchain settlement can scale traditional finance. And within the financial system, you have crypto, you have, I don't know, like money markets, FX, or different types of assets that can actually be all settled on the blockchain. And if you look farther ahead, and if you want to really grow into that kind of a business, then you need to be compliant and regulated from day one, or else one day it will be a blocker for you to grow further. So I think that's why we wanted to definitely make sure that we're compliant from day one. And I can explain in the next, I guess later periods where, we do have a lot of roadmaps and designs that are actually associated to these kind of plans. But the third one is also because we wanted to eliminate risk, i.e. regulatory risk. So what many people believe is that DeFi isn't regulated, but I personally think that it's a matter of time. And what that means is, if you look at the world of regulation, the regulators look at, because they have constraint in manpower, they will look at projects or companies that generate enough volume or impact to their user base or people so that they will regulate them and penalize them first. But as DeFi grows, and as I mentioned, DeFi is only taking up less than 50% of the total exchange business. As that grows bigger, it is inevitable, in my view, that these companies will also be subject to regulations. And we don't want to be in that risk, and we want to be able to bring business in a prolonged period of time. So that's why we're taking this route. And one last point I want to emphasize is that many people, including investors, have been worried that Gravity, because we're doing KYC, is going to be difficult to acquire users more than other DeFi. But our stats actually show that KYC is not really a hurdle. We already have 20,000 user base within Asia that have finished and actually acquired KYC approval. And if you look at the stats, as I briefly mentioned earlier, it's a number that took Hyperliquid 6 months to accumulate after mainnet. So we're 1 month before mainnet. So I think we definitely are at a road to hyper growth. And KYC isn't a hurdle. What really is a hurdle for us is making a very good product that is easy to use for our users as quickly as possible, expanding this in filling into our roadmap to build a better exchange. So that hopefully answered the questions around KYC.
Sure. Yes, that'd be great. And now also, like a lot of people who watch this video is a lot of retail guys, retail traders. So it makes sense for them to also trade in this platform. Is it because of the liquidity or better execution environments? That's the main things that they can get.
Yeah, so I guess yes. So users can expect one, the features of the exchange, which are going to be better security, better liquidity, and no counterparty risk, and all trustless risk management that significantly makes it scalable. So we will definitely be building more things down the line. But on top of that, I think what our community can anticipate is the airdrop that we're planning. We have allocated roughly, slightly over 11% of Grvt tokens for our season 1 airdrop, of which 3.5% of it will be deployed in the first 3 months of mainnet. Now, mainnet will happen sometime in middle of November. And what that means is those user base who come in and do the effort to actually do KYC and make their first trade and actually be part of this community will definitely be able to be rewarded. And as I briefly mentioned earlier, it's not in a way designed to only service whales or institutional clients. There are programs within the platform, the program that actually allows users to start farming already. So the more people you invite, the more the invites trade, you're actually going to be earning more tokens. And it's actually quite imminent. We'll make a very official announcement within the next few weeks about this programs and our mainnet date. But I guess it would be very good to stay tuned on our progress in the coming few weeks.
I see. I wanted to ask you about the special campaign, but that was I think the campaigns that they could take advantage, I guess, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then now you just mentioned about the token. Any utility that you're kind of now thinking, or you still figuring out what's the utilities?
I guess it ties in very well with our actual roadmap. But actually, just to answer that specific question first, we are looking to build beyond just an exchange, right? What we're starting off is building a exchange market access layer that is built on the blockchain to be trustless. And then the next step we're going to be doing is deploying products on top of the exchange that will interact with the exchange trustlessly. And that allows users to be able to deploy strategy, invest into strategy, and that's the whole idea of the expansion. But in short, then what is the token going to be? Well, yes, as you mentioned, we're still in the works of making sure that this tokenomics is very concrete. So that's why the token TGE will not be happening until middle of next year. But the current model is that we want this token to have sufficient utility within this ecosystem to be able to be used as membership rights or access points to access all these type of products and be a byproduct of these things. So I guess that's the extent that I can probably share for now.
I see. Thank you. And now you just mentioned about the roadmaps. Can we cover this also?
Yeah, sure. So I think before even we talk about the roadmap, we do have a very strict, I guess, philosophy within Grvt about how we build things, right? And there are 4 questions that we stick to. So first is, how do you make DeFi adoption easier is what we focus on right now. And then the next phase is going to be focused on how do you make trading easier for our users? And then the third stage would be how do you make investing easier for users? And then the last stage is going to be how do you make money making easier for everyone, right? So I think those are like the four key pillars that we stick to in terms of philosophy and start building on top of that. So in terms of the first one where, how do you make, DeFi adoption easy for users? We're trying to solve that by introducing ways for eliminating friction and making these bridges, wallets, and gasless trading, all with the focus of making DeFi invisible. So that's the first thing that we do. And then as we launch mainnet, we will be focusing on trading easy. So we'll be introducing more different type of underlyings, trading algos such as TPSL or TWAP, VWAP, or other different types of complicated algos to make it easier for people to trade. And we also have, by the way, just a separate note, a page within Grvt where any users can come in and introduce or ask for features, by the way. So that's that. And then in terms of that, what we have in scope for the coming months is that we will also be expanding the product from perps, which is this year. And then options order book is coming out in the first 6 months, or actually more like 3-4 months of 2025 options order book. And then on top of that, we will be also deploying a prediction market that allows users to trade options and perps with single clicks. So it's not the traditional prediction market of events, but more around on the markets to be able to trade more easily. And then there and after, we will start expanding into non-crypto assets such as money markets, funds, and et cetera, and real world assets. And by the way, by end of the year, we're also launching Grvt's mobile application at the same time. So I think that's something that will be quite interesting. And then there and after, we talked about how to make investing easier. So we'll be also looking into deploying Grvt vaults by end of next year. And then there and after, we'll be continuously thinking about how do you make money making easier for the platform, for the users, without having to even invest or trade on the platform. So those are some of the things that we have. And many people do ask us around TGE. I'm sure a lot of people actually have that thought too. But for us, the TGE philosophy is around not just the date of when we want to go live, but whether we'll be ready to do TGE or not. And this is, I think, is in relation to maximizing the user benefits for holding these tokens. And we don't want to be launching these tokens too prematurely. Hopefully, it will be roughly in the year of 2025, middle of 2025. That's a target. But when we say ready, we will be ready when we have enough user base who hold these tokens, and at the same time have enough utility. And we have a roadmap, very clear roadmap on where we're going to get listed in a very specific exchanges. So I think that's the plan.
Thank you. And before closing, I want to ask one other question. I think now a lot of centralized exchange DEX both trying to list meme tokens as soon as possible, which could be really successful. But so I wanted to ask you about the listing process for the DEX. If it's if it's centralized, regulated, so maybe a little bit different from other DEXs or SEXs.
Yeah. So I think if you look at some of the listing processes of central exchanges, you have a listing team. And listing teams will go in and do a lot of research on products, and they will do due diligence on each of them to make sure that they're compliant and be able to list up and then decide internally whether they're going to list this token or not. I think that is something that we will follow in the essence of it. But given that we are also a hybrid model, we also want to give a chance for our users to be able to contribute to the making a decision of listing. So what that means is obviously we can't rely 100% on our user base to make decisions, but we will be shortlisting a list of tokens that are on the higher end of the list of our probabilities, and then we will let our holders of the tokens or the community to be able to share their insights on why they think that there will be these things should be listed earlier or later. So I think those are some of the way that we want to take this in a more community-driven way, but with sufficient controls in place to ensure that we don't to make this too decentralized.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, I guess the time is up, but before going off, can you give us some messages or anything you want to highlight?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess the key thing is that we are going live, roughly within about a month with mainnet. We believe that we're building something very great and very unique. We will be the first regulated exchange on as a decentralized exchange, and we're offering something very unique. And I hope that our community and the community within Japan will be able to learn more about us by also coming into first listening to this video, but also coming into Grvt.io. We have reward programs that's out there that allows people to start farming our tokens right now. And at the same time, we have a very, very well detailed out help center to educate our users on what we are actually trying to build. So yeah, stay tuned.
Sounds great.
All
Okay.
right, sounds good. Well, thank you very much.
Likewise. Thank you so much for your time.